Peace and blessings, Empowerment Tribe. Welcome to the WUCUSU Lounge, where we talk personal growth, progress, and personal transformation. I'm your host, Brother Ajay Taimba, educator, author, community organizer, empowerment coach, and author of WUCUSU, a self-empowerment handbook. So relax, tune in, and let's get ready to build together. Peace and blessings, families. Brother Ajay Taimba, representing WUCUSU Empowerment Lounge, where we're teaching our people to wake up, clean up, and stand up. But we're teaching you to do it from the individual point of view to make sure that we are thinking right, that we are behaving and conducting ourselves in ways that are affirming, positive, and that lead to our advancement in our health in every way, right? We want to thank you for coming out. I do want to say at the outset that I'm going to implore our community to put our sister Umeki Harmon in your prayers. She's had a family emergency. She called me not too long ago, said that she would not be able to appear here, and obviously I'm not going to have her keep talking. I'm like, sister, you handle your business. Family is most important. We take care of our family, hopefully, before we take care of anybody, right? So, but we do want to say, family, I'm not at liberty to get all into her business. I didn't ask her permission to do that. So it's not necessarily important, what the issue is with that. She's having a serious family issue, and she could use our support, our prayers, our meditations, and our affirmations. So I humbly ask that you take a few minutes now, or while this broadcast is going on, or at some point tonight, to speak to the ancestors, to the Most High, and ask that the sister Yumeki Harmon and her family have some degree of comfort, some degree of clarity, and that they are able to come together and navigate what is definitely going to be a very difficult experience for their family. Um, with that said, I want to move on and say, in the world of leadership, you always have to anticipate things may not quite go the way you planned. And one of the community organizing 101 things that we learned, and I know that I learned as a very young man, as a teenager, was to always have a plan B. So, whereas I really wish us, I wish this didn't happen to our sister. I wish she wasn't having a family conflict, but she has one. And so I'm moving now to plan B. Every broadcast I do has a plan B if something goes wrong. So with that said, today we're going to be kind of talking about, since you know that I have pivoted to a new role as an empowerment coach, I kind of want to take you down the way that I would think about certain issues as a coach, some of the things the way I would see certain things. And before I get into that, I do want to say that tonight's episode is sponsored by Brother Baba FM, the Strategic Black Empowerment Training Organization. They go around the country and they spread the teachings of Baba Dr. Amos Wilson, a great psychologist who gave us great clarity and meaning, right, in our lives. He is aiming to get his dual citizenship in Sierra Leone, and he has a GoFundMe that I will probably put up the information to scroll on the bottom. We're still trying to push for support so that he's able to complete that very important project, not only for himself, but once he does that, once he gets to Sierra Leone, goes through the program, he'll get a special type of passport, an ECOWAS passport. I believe that's the Economic Community of West African States. And that passport will give him access to 15 other African countries. So we want to push for our brother to be successful. When one of us is successful, it signals to the rest of us that we can be successful as well. So at this pivotal time in history where there's so much despondency and anxiety because of the political climate, it's very important that we be very intentional about supporting each other and amassing a string of victories, family, of wins. Our young people need to know, what does victory look like? We know what failure and defeat looks like. We got to change it. And so when we're supporting our brother, we're helping him personally get dual citizenship, but we're also helping to spread the teachings of Dr. Amos Wilson to all those different African states. And we're also, in a larger sense, showing our people that, yeah, like anybody else, we can plan, we can achieve a goal in a timely manner, right? And that's very important too. So I'm going to put that up on the ticker just so that people want to support, they know where to go and what it's about. That's on the ticker scrolling at the bottom. Um, that said, so for those who came late, our guest for today, Sister Yumeki Harmon, has had a family emergency slash tragedy. And we're asking, she couldn't make it, and we completely understand that. And we just ask that you keep her and her family in your prayers. We will reschedule at a time that's convenient for her. That's no problem. Today, though, I'd like to talk about the blueprint behind every breakthrough, right? So at the WUCUSU Empowerment Channel, family, we're trying to help our people get focused, get disciplined, and build the strongest version of ourselves, whatever that is. That looks different for every individual. There's about 55 million of us in the United States alone, right? Every one of those individuals has different skill sets, different gifts, different personal preferences, personality types, all of that. So when we talk about the strongest version of yourself, that's going to look different for every single one of us because we come with a different skill set, right? Um, many of you have been through several challenges, and you have been through some defeats, and we might even say some failures. We might even say you've attempted to do things that didn't work out the way you wanted. Um, you've attempted to do a task, you didn't complete it, or you completed it, but you did it 8 years later, right? Or you completed it and you went really over budget and completed it. We all have been there, right? So I do want to first say, I want to create the atmosphere. This is a safe space. You're not judged. We don't want anyone coming here feeling that they are their defeats or they are their misgivings or you are your failures, right? I even want to just change the language. I think that the things we call failures oftentimes um, teach us, if we have the humility and the wisdom, once we get over the emotion to really put things in perspective, we'll learn a lot of things from it, right? But when you come here, regardless of what you did in the past, who your parents were, who they weren't, your family, and your traumas you went through, we assume everybody has a story. Everybody. It's just variations, and some have been through more extreme things than others. But we all have a story. Everyone's been hurt. Everyone is probably participating in hurting others, right? Everybody's been misunderstood. Everybody has probably misunderstood others. So in that sense, we are all one. We are united, um, not only through our common history, common oppressors, and things like that. We united through the fact that we struggle with some of the same issues, right? Um, Tonight we're getting into the real behind what it means when we say we're transforming, because that word is being thrown around very loosely, kind of like love, spirituality, and empowerment. And sometimes we need to clarify it. We're not talking about wishful thinking here. We're not hype, not new year, new me. We're talking about like an actual blueprint that empowerment coaches like myself, healers, and high level performers we've used to have used to change our lives with strategy and structure, right? And if you've ever felt stuck, um, if you ever tried to elevate and it seems like you keep getting pulled back, you try to change your social circle and they keep pulling you back into nonsense. You're trying to elevate and people keep, you know, bringing you into complete foolishness, family. stuff, stuff that couldn't possibly help you on a good day, right? Or you're getting into gossip, or get you to waste more money, and you say, I'm going to save, and you find yourself blowing money. I'm going to get exercise, you're not doing it. Whatever it is, tonight is your night. I want us to get into it right now. First of all, I want to tell you something that's going to sting a little bit, but it's going to help you. And that is, most people don't fail just because they're lazy, right? That's a very common thing. Oh, the person didn't achieve that because they're lazy. They didn't, you know. Now, that might play a part in it, don't get me wrong. But I think most people fail. When I say fail, I mean they don't meet their goal. And that is because I don't think most people truly understand what the process, the journey of transformation is and what it looks like, what it entails, right? And when you don't understand the process you're getting ready to enter, you're going to blame yourself instead of maybe correcting the system and the habits that you're using and the thinking that you're using, right? And so let's begin with kind of outlining five of the biggest reasons that people don't transform or don't transform in the way they envision for themselves. And this is important. This is very important because we can talk about all types of things, but at the end of the day, the you are the greatest thing you got, your life. And you want your life to matter and you don't want to be on your deathbed with a million regrets. I should have listened, I should have did this. When I had the chance, I should have stayed on course. I was doing good and I didn't, and now I'm here suffering. We don't want to be there if we can avoid it. Right? So this personal transformation is everything, family. Because without you, with respect to you, nothing matters. If that makes sense, right? In your universe, you're all you got, and then the other people are connected to you come later, but you got to be right and exact. So, number one, what are some of the five issues, things that get in the way of our personal transformation? Let me quickly see if there are any comments. No? Okay. So, let me continue. Number one, we tend to wait for motivation. Motivation is this uh emotional energy. It comes and it goes. It's transient. It's not permanent. It's like the weather. And it's very difficult to build a solid, stable life around something like motivation, around weather patterns, right? It's very difficult. You're constantly changing, right? This motivation thing. Number two, people really want the change, but they have no structure. So when I say no structure, what I mean? No plan, no schedule, no accountability system, no tools, just vibes. Just something I want. I'm highly motivated now, but that goes up and down, right? Things come and go in your life. Things happen that come out the blue that you weren't expecting, and that changes things. So if you don't have a system and a structure and a plan, or even a way to say, how do you hold yourself accountable? For instance, you plan something, but you have no accountability system. So you don't have a system that says every day I have a plan. That's the first. Most people don't have a plan for their day. They just kind of go through the motions, and they're responding to a series of fires or alarms or respond to whatever, and just kind of living. And that whole 24 hours is gone. Then the next day, this happens for weeks and months and years sometimes. So the first thing is to think about, what's my system? What do I want? How am I going to get it? How do I how do I measure? What's my measurable goals? And then accountability to check off if you've even completed them. So check this out. If every day you have three goals you're going to complete, but you never revisit those goals at the end of each day and say, did I complete them? Then you haven't held yourself accountable. Does this make sense? So if you're doing that every day, weeks, months, and years, you now have years of your life spent. You're setting goals, but you're not holding yourself accountable to achieving them. If you're not holding yourself accountable to achieving them, or even if you don't have a system of measuring if you achieve them, then obviously you see how that's going to get in the way of you experiencing transformation. So I want to stop here and just repeat transformation is not magic. It's not something that happens organically or naturally. It's not. It's something that you must put in place, or you can hire someone like me or other people to help you. You have to change some things. You have to put things in place. or your life will just run away from you, family. People will be pulling on you favors. Can you do this? Your job, your business, your family, everything. And you'll just kind of just be responding, always reacting. And you'll never sit down and say, this is what I want. This is why I want it. This is how I'm going to get it. This is when I'm going to get it by. These are the ways I'm going to do that. And this is how I'm going to hold myself accountable. And that's very important. And then there's another thing. Number three, we have identities, right? So some of us, let's say, that was in the streets real heavy. We involved, let's say, in nefarious activities with people who also involved in nefarious activities. And that was our life, one of violence, one of the street hustling, maybe one of dishonesty, lying to people about what you were doing for a living, or you may have been involved in a business or activity that caused people physical harm, that had you in situations where you're threatening people to get money. You may have been selling products that were narcotics or anything else that was unethical, illegal, or that hurt people. Now, that's a very tragic identity to have. But as you get older and you start reading, right, you have a certain friend circle, and these people are talking about what they're doing and their plans, and you find yourself like you don't know they're using words you never heard before. They're using references you don't know what they're talking about, and you start saying, "Hey, what when you said elevation? What that mean?" Yeah, okay. When you said accountability, what's that mean? Okay. When you say a business, what type of business are you talking about? You talking about LLC, you talking about corporation? What is that? Right? Okay. And then you go to conversations with your peoples that's still in that life and you're not. There's going to typically be a different set of conversation. I'm not trying to pigeonhole people because there's people in the street that are brilliant. Do understand that. Highly intelligent family, highly capable. This is a fact, right? What I'm trying to do is give you a way of looking at it so it makes it plain. You have different conversations. People have different expectations. They're aiming for different things. And oftentimes, people may be even trying to help us. We may have had a checkered past, they call it. And then we saying, that's all right, man. You're not defined by what you did back then. You could change. And they're putting you on the books. They're putting you onto new ways of thinking. They're putting you onto key figures, philosophers, historians, activists, whatever. Um, and you're rejecting that, not out of you don't think it's important because in your mind you're like, well, that's for smart people. That's that's for people that's went to college, or that's for people that's whatever, humanitarian types. And I'm still so and so from the block and doing anything. You're holding yourself back because you're latching onto an identity that you should be somewhat transforming and moving away from. That doesn't mean that you look down on your past and the people in your past, but it means you're moving in a new direction. You can't move in a new direction if your leg is shackled to your past. You have to free yourself and say, hey, I did this in the past. You ask forgiveness from the creator, from the people you may have damaged or whatever. Ask forgiveness for yourself and you keep it moving, man. Right? So sometimes our old identity holds us back, keeps pulling us back. We feel like, for instance, I got these friends, they still talk about doing A, B, and C. I don't want to do that no more. I did that back then. And look where it left me. I don't want to do that. Right? But some people feel what? They feel guilty. They feel like, oh no, I can't. If I don't keep doing these things, going to these places, hanging with these people, doing these activities, that makes me a sellout. I can't turn my back on my friends. So we kind of, in some respects, imprison ourselves through this thinking that we're obligated to be with, to do, to have the same people. We no, you can change that when you decide. You make those decisions on your own free will, of your own volition, right? So that's number three. Number four, we have unhealed emotions that are running the show behind the scenes in our lives. So this means trauma, fear, guilt, shame. These are things that are invisible concepts, but they're very real in their impact on our lives. And they, family, if left unchecked, unaddressed, will sabotage everything in your life, and they'll do it seemingly quietly, right? So this is to say, you want change, you got structure, you got rid of this whole identity, this obligation. I got to do like I did not 30 years ago. And I got to hang with these people because I used to hang with them, even though they are negative and going in the opposite direction. You got rid of all of that. But you went through something very tragic, maybe that you didn't deserve, or you did things that you feel ashamed of, or there's unhealed wounds. You got bitterness, you got rage in your heart, and it comes out when triggered by certain things. Those things will completely, it's like you wrote, it's like you remember in school, she had a huge blackboard. So imagine that you're writing with your chalk, you filling up all that blackboard with writing. This blackboard represents your life and your possibilities. All this writing, it's filled up. And you're like, wow, look at all this plans. Look at all I achieved. Look at all I want to do. Look at all my talents. Look at all my self assessment. Look at all my growth. But bitterness comes, and resentment comes, and guilt and shame comes, and your trauma, which you have not addressed, comes. And it's like somebody just came, took a bucket of water and threw it right on your blackboard. All that work is gone. That took you all that time to create, gone, right? So sometimes it's the unhealed emotions that we have, trauma, all these things I just said. And then number five, sometimes we want better for ourselves, but we're in environments that do not support that. And now, what do I mean? Do I mean the wilderness? No, fam. I mean your environment in your home, your circle of friends, your room, your apartment, your actual physical house, your digital world, the social platforms that you engage, right? Um, that if they all reflect the things you say you don't want in your life, well, guess what? It's going to be very hard to grow and transform, right? So you're living in an environment that gets in the way of where you're trying to go. So I wanted to kind of help give you an understanding of the system that will help to fix some of these things, right? And so here's the truth, straight up. Real transformation starts with identity, not even goals, your identity. And I want to explain this. Most people say, I want to be disciplined. I want to lose weight. I want to make money, right? I want to overcome my fears, right? But that's not really how the human brain and the mind works. The mind says, who are we? And it adjusts our behavior around the identity, the way we identify ourselves, right? So if your identity is still, I don't finish what I start. I'm the black sheep of the family. I'm the ugly one in the family. I'm the violent one. I'm the one in the family that's in and out of jail. I'm the one in the family that nobody trusts and nobody believes in. If that's the identity you claim for yourself, and it's not to say these things may not be true about you, but when you now take these things that maybe we might call negative behavior patterns and you put it on as your identity, you're going to sabotage every goal you set without even realizing it. Identity controls your behavior, right? So if you don't become a new version of yourself internally, if you don't see yourself differently, then that old version of you, that identity that you claimed for yourself, will always drag you back. It's kind of like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. 1 minute to this, the next minute to that, right? Um, and so a coach might do an exercise with you. They might say, write this sentence. The future version of me behaves like, right? And I want you to complete that. And then we might read it over. So you might say, future version of me behaves like uh, a successful business person, right? And then you would list, well, how does that future version of you, how do they think, right? How do they speak? This future you, this you that you want to be, how do they solve problems? How do they treat their body? What do they do to make sure their body is in working order, in good shape? How does this new you that you aiming to be, how they spend their time? How many hours do they spend idle, doing nothing of substance to help themselves? And you gonna write them down. We're gonna have discussion. What behavior does this new you tolerate from other people? What things do you refuse to participate in? You do. I'm not cooperating with that. You damn who's doing it? How does this new you think and process? Right? Because, and this is important because what this exercise does is it helps you, or it kind of compels you to think that you want to have a new you, literally a new you. You'll look the same, but the way you think will be different, and therefore your thinking and your activities and your habits will be different, and you'll be getting these different results. But for you to get there, we got to put you in the mindset that you're saying you want these things. What you're really saying is you want to be this type of person, right? So when you say, I want to be on time, I want to stop losing stuff, I want to stop being late, what you're really saying is you want to be organized. You want to have an identity of a person that's organized. That's what you're really saying. And that's how your mind looks at it, right? So that's important because once your identity shifts, your habits follow almost automatically. Or at least once your identity shifts, you're going to recognize, wow, I say I want this, but my habits do not align with that. So you're going to start now identifying these habits, right, and changing them up, right? So your identity is kind of like if you were to think of the foundation of a house, right? If the foundation is old, withered, cracked, compromised by termites or rot, it doesn't matter how expensive the paint and the decor, all that doesn't matter, right? You got expensive furniture. None of that's going to matter because that house is rotten. The foundation is rotten. And soon, if not taken care of or addressed, that house will fall with all the nice, pretty furniture and the artwork and the good paint. This is what we're talking about. That's like you, right? Your identity is your foundation. Who am I? You used to have a poem called "Who Am I?" That's very important to start there. So then, two, we would get involved in what we call habit engineering, right? So we talked about identity. We said that's where transformation starts. Now let's talk about the other big piece, behavior. So, family, your habits are the daily votes that you cast for the kind of person you want to be. You know how you voted for mayor in New York City, or you voted for governor, or you voted for president? You cast a vote for somebody, right? Well, think of your habits are the things you do every day to cast votes for the type of person you want to be. So every day, family, you are electing to office your future self. And that's a very interesting way to think about it, right? Because we can talk about racism and sexism and ageism and lookism and all these isms they got, and those things are real. You're never going to hear me say that doesn't exist, right? But at the end of the day, it comes back to, well, how do you see yourself? We know how racists may see you. We know if you're a woman, we know how uh, males who are sexist might see you, right? If you're older, you know how ageist young folk might say, okay, good. How do you see you? Because that changes the game. And we have plenty of examples historically of people who were able to achieve and able to do things and live lives that didn't seem to be consistent with the time they were living in. And part of it was they didn't accept that. They didn't accept it. They can't do what they want to do, be what they want to be, learn what they want to learn. So they getting into schools, they building businesses that they were not supposed to be able to do in that social context because they did not submit, they didn't agree with that, right? So that's important. Your habits count every day. When you're doing things automatically, you're voting for your future self. Absolutely. And guess what? Your habits will dictate your future self. They'll dictate where you'll be in 5 to 10 years. They'll dictate how you'll be, your health, a lot of things, right? So if I were coaching you, I wouldn't start with a million goals. I'm not one of these multitask doing 100 things. I start with what we could call keystone or cornerstone habits that create momentum, right? So example, when I say keystone or cornerstone habits, things like planning your day the day before. So you're going to school, for instance, you have your clothes ready, your clothes are ironed, you're going to work, clothes is ready, picked out, ironed. You're not getting up that day and trying to figure out what I'm going to wear and then trying to iron it. You're not doing all that. You're doing that the night before. Another keystone habit. You're going to wake up. Um, you may have a morning ritual that sets the tone of your day. You might journal for 5 minutes. You might listen to certain music that's calming. You might do a little meditation, or you might say affirmations, prayers, right? Things like that. Um, you might do a certain amount of reading. You might set a timer and do these things. So you're not doing this thing so long that now you're late for school or late for work or whatever you're doing in your business. And in this case, we understand that small habits, the coach would be telling you, yeah, but this don't seem like it's gonna do nothing. Me just setting the timer, me getting up early. Don't worry, you're starting small, right? The person that is tragically overweight, that didn't happen in a week. That happened over years of their life. Too many snacks here, not doing the exercise here, drinking drinks full of sugar here and different snacks over 10, 15 years. So if you do things negatively every day, little things, you're going to see negative results, the negative impact of that. But for our purposes, if you do important things, small things every day that help you, you're going to see great benefit. This is the same thing in reverse, right? Um, so I want to talk about this idea of habit stacking that we may use in the coaching world. This is one of a very powerful coaching tool. You attach a new habit to something that you already do, right? So most of us, I hope, brush our teeth every day at least once. And so what you would habit stack, you would say, when I brush my teeth, that's when I'm going to recite my morning affirmation. That's when I'm going to do mirror work. Brush my teeth. I'm in the mirror anyway. I'm going to take that little maybe 5 minutes and I'm going to say things looking right into my own eyes in the mirror, saying stuff like, you are beautiful just the way you are. Your body is healed, whole, huh? And in perfect order. You attract abundance to you in expected and unexpected forms. You see, everything you do that is positive will succeed. These type of things, you're saying this to yourself as you look at yourself and you brushing your teeth. Habit stacking makes it easy to remember because you attach this new habit to something you do every day anyway. After eating lunch, which is one habit you may have at a certain time, you habit stack. You say, okay, I need to walk more. So after I eat lunch, I'm gonna the habit I'm gonna stack to that or add to it is I'm gonna take a little 5 minute walk. I'm gonna walk around the block. I'm gonna walk to the park that's 3 blocks away and come back. Right? You see how this would work? It would make it easier for you to start adopting new habits. Um, when I'm sitting at my desk for um in the morning, when I'm sitting at my desk, when I get up, I'm gonna write down my top 3 tasks for the day. The top 3 things that I want to make sure I've completed today. And yeah, I know you're saying top 3 things. That's not a lot, AJ, but remember those little things you do every day. Isn't that the story of the tortoise and the hare? That the hare was much faster, right? And but the hare was arrogant. The hare saw he was so far in front of the turtle in that race. He looked back and said, man, that guy's like a mile away. I'm gonna take a nap. So the hare takes a nap. He stopped running. He got cocky. That little slow turtle kept plodding along, and the turtle never stopped. He never stopped. He kept going, and that consistency ended like this. The turtle wakes up from his nap, he looks over, and that slow turtle who he was teasing is crossing that finish line. That's the story of us, family. That you don't have to do these big, grandiose, showy, performative things to prove to other people. You don't have to do that. You don't have to announce what you're going to do. Do it. You don't have to tell everybody. What you do is you do these things and get your habits, your routine, and you knock a little bit a day. You know, you ever go look at the Grand Canyon? You ever see how it's beautiful, like mountain, stone, carved out? What carved it out? Rain, water, over time, over time created that. And that's what I want us to get into. That's habit stacking. You don't have to create whole new habits. You attach a new habit to something you already do. And this makes your transformation what? Sustainable. It's easier, right? It's very easy. Remember, motivation fades, but systems give durability and give stability. And that's what we want, you know. And remember, your habits are either going to build your future or they're going to bury your future. You know a person, it says in the holy book that they shall be known by their fruits. Now that doesn't just mean the obvious things like your children. You know, you're going to be known by your habits, the things you do every day, not by the things you do once every 6 months, right? If you're in a relationship with somebody you love, yes, you would love to have nice things on Valentine's Day or your birthday, but wouldn't you also want to make sure that the person loves you is showing you love in real ways every day, right? So that even if they didn't give you the big, grandiose things on those special days, you be like, man, my boo boo loves me every day. See what I'm saying? It's very important we understand this. Um, Another thing is, I guess I'm gonna classify it as emotional regulation and healing. And let me stop. I want to make sure. Okay, I see some comments. Uh, my baby girl says, good teaching. Thank you. Says, for sure. Thank you. That's Brenda, my lovely, lovely queen. And then we have Sister Natalie says, WUCUSU, I'm here, beloved brother. Ashe to you, my sister. I hope that those of you watching find something useful or helpful in it. Um, I want to talk about emotional regulation and healing. I want to talk about something that I know for a fact we don't discuss enough in our community, but it's very important, and this is emotional mastery, right? Most people, if you ask them, they would say, yeah, I think I probably like a little discipline. I could use more discipline. And I want to say that may be true, but I want to add something to this discussion. Sometimes what we really lack at the root of things is the ability to regulate our emotions, right? So, for instance, you can't really focus when you're overwhelmed. And you can't really commit when you're anxious. And you can't really grow when you're triggered every day or several times throughout the day. You're going to start and stop, right? So here's the truth, your emotions, family, because I don't want to be one of these people like, you should never be emotional. You should never um, display emotion. That's quite contrary, as my English teacher used to say. Your emotions are important, but they're supposed to inform you. They're not supposed to control you. There's a difference, right? So, in terms of emotional mastery, there's some tools we can put in place that helps you to tame the emotion and use it correctly. One, you name it so you can tame it. You name it so you can tame it. So you say when you're feeling it, when you feel overwhelmed, don't start going crazy. Say to yourself, I'm feeling anxious right now. When you're triggered, because you're not getting attention, I'm feeling ignored right now. Name it. Uh, I'm feeling somebody's triggering me. I'm feeling bitter or angry. And I'm feeling bitter or angry because this person I feel is not listening. And not listening to me goes way back when I was a kid. I felt whatever it was. Name it, right? Because naming the emotion that you're feeling while you are feeling it reduces its ability to have control over you. And it helps you better understand and get in touch with yourself and how you interpret things and how you respond so that you can now what? Address it, right? Number two, pause before reacting. This is I try it. Very effective. So you tell yourself somebody just came off in a way I thought was, talking out their neck. I didn't appreciate it. Somebody wrote a comment on one of these YouTube channels I thought was a little extra. I wasn't feeling. I'm getting ready to type out. I pause. I take about 4 or 5 breaths. I calm down. And that alone, would you believe that taking a pause, a break, taking a few deep breaths, that alone can stop 50% of the bad decisions you make based on emotion? Yeah, pause before you react. And guess what? Sometimes you don't react at all. You don't respond to it. That's the other thing, but let's go to number three. Heal the root of the issue, not just the symptom. So some of our triggers, as you would already know, come from childhood, relationships, trauma, abandonment, or betrayal. And unhealed wounds, as I think we all know, can run your life from the back seat and run your life right into an accident, to a tragedy if you don't get things under control. Um, Empowerment isn't about being tough in the way you might think a football player is tough. Not like that. It's about being emotionally intelligent, spiritually centered, grounded, and in control of your emotions. So it's important to know when people do this, that gets me angry. It's important you have boundaries. You don't certain things you shouldn't tolerate, right? Um, but the emotion is there to guide you, tell you what you don't like, to set your boundaries, but it can't be used to make your decisions. Because that's where problems come in. A fourth thing, environment and accountability. Your environment is either, this is going to seem simplistic, but just follow me. Your environment is either feeding the old you that you're trying to transform or change from, or it's supporting the new you seek to become. It's one or the other, right? So this includes, when I say environment, the people around you, the clutter in your home, the content you watch, meaning on YouTube, social media, television, radio, the music you listen to, the routines you have, the conversations you have, and the topics you discuss in those conversations, your habits, the digital world that you occupy, the digital world, social media, what you celebrate, what you energize, what you tolerate, what you refuse to collaborate with or cooperate with. All of that is part of your environment, right? And what I want to say is that you cannot rise when you're surrounded by people, practices, thinking, or habits committed to sinking. I'm going to say it again. You can't rise if you are attached, handcuffed even, anchored to people, places, situations, and input that's committed, listen to this, committed to sinking. That's just impossible. And this is where accountability comes in, right? So when I'm a coach, for instance, say I'm your coach and we're going through these different sessions, right? One of the things that I serve as would be like a mirror, a guide, a strategist, a partner, and a person that helps to keep the standard that you have set for your life, right? Accountability, just to be clear, is not a nag. You know, you got people do this, do that. We're not talking about nagging you. Accountability means accountability partner is someone who is holding you to the version of yourself you said you wanted to become. So they're not coming to you with what they think you should do. You, the coach, sits with you and you say, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that. I say, okay, well, what do you do right now? They observe you, they give you a tracker. Write down every time you have a toxic thought. and write down what that toxic thought was. And what was you doing before you had that toxic thought? I want to get my money. Okay, write down, create a budget, a monthly budget, and write down your expenses and put those expenses out. Tell me what's your disposable income and tell me how you use it. I want you to do this for two pay periods. So now we looking at some stuff. I'm assuming that you're telling the truth. We have a record of how you think, how you spend money, right? How you save or don't. And then you say based on that. So then the coach will say, you know what? If you want to have more money, you're going to have a way of generating more income, of saving more of the income you have, and of better using the disposable income you have. When we talk about outside of the bills and stuff like that, right? So you come up with a plan together. He or she don't tell you what to do, right? They say, "Oh, okay, this is what you want to do. This is what I suggest to do that. You're gonna have to do these things. How do you want to do that?" And together you'll come up with a plan. And now, I, as a coach, I'm gonna hold you accountable. And let me tell you, some things we were taught in our communities were incorrect, or were exaggerated, or were incomplete. Accountability is important. It is necessary. And every great athlete, leader, entrepreneur, healer, the people you look up to out here, the so-called celebrities, they have an accountability system. And if they don't, you can predict their fall. Absolutely. Right? Denzel gotta be have something in place in his life. He's getting to his film set on time and he knows where the film set is. And he has to have accountability to know that he's ready to go. He ain't looking for stuff last minute. He has to have systems for that, or he's going to fail, right? Because the director don't want to hear nothing about why you late every time to the set. Come on, family. You know what I'm saying, right? Or you have a business and you say you open at 10, but you open it at noon and 2 p.m. and people are getting frustrated and now they go to another pizza shop or they go to another tax place, right? You have to have accountability. And it is not weak and it is not somebody trying to control your life. It's what you need to have what we call structure. Structure separates the champs from the chumps every time. Every time. It's one thing to say what you want, it's another thing to have a plan to achieve what you want, right? And one that actually works for you. But sometimes that means you got to do like football coaches, suck it up. I don't want to hear that. Suck it up, suck it up. Get here on time. You don't want to run extra laps. You don't want to run 50 laps. Be here on time. Sports is the ultimate accountability system. You don't come to practice, you don't perform well, you get benched, you don't play in the game, or you get suspended from playing a certain number of games. Very simple, right? Um, and life has its own accountability system. It's called failure. It's called defeat. And that has a way of demoralizing us. And all I'm here to say through this channel is that we have the power and ability to write the script we want. And that, my friends, is deeply empowering. It means that it doesn't matter who your parents were. It don't matter what school you went to or didn't go to. It don't matter what block you came up on. Don't matter your gender, your race. I'm telling you, you have the power to write your script, but it ain't gonna be easy. You're gonna have to change some things, and you're gonna have to stick with it. And it can't be, you have to commit. But if you do that, the promise is the universal law states that what you sow, you what? You reap. You plant them apple seeds, you have fertile soil, proper environment, you have a system, right? For doing this, you're doing this at set times of the year. You expose these apple seeds to proper sunlight, you water them, you have a system making sure they get the nutrients they need. You don't have to guess. You don't have to guess. You don't have to keep digging up the soil every day. Is it growing? No. You did your part. Let nature do its part. It's predictable. Those seeds will grow. Now, some of them may not, but you're going to have apple trees. That's a fact. Well, that's how life is with your goals. It's the same thing. It's no different, right? Um, and then I want to say, so I want to bring this home. Tonight, we went over kind of a blueprint generally speaking, a blueprint behind every breakthrough in life. We talked about identity shifting, becoming the person you want to be before you achieve the goal. So you may have heard people say, dress like the person you want to be in the future, right? Number two, we talked about habit engineering to build systems that make your success almost automatic. Because remember, a habit is powerful. Why? Because these are things you do every day that you don't even think about doing, right? And if you can now take that idea of things you do every day you don't think about doing, make sure the things you do every day you don't think about doing are good things that will make you smarter, more informed, physically strong and healthy, clearer. Think about how your life is going to be 5 years from now, right? We talked about emotional mastery or this idea that we heal, that we regulate, that we transform our emotional life. That we control our emotions, don't let them control us. Don't make decisions when we're overly upset or overly sad, right? We talked about that. We talked about environment and accountability, creating a world and an environment surrounding you, which includes the people in your life, the practices, the things, the input, what you feed yourself in terms of your food, in terms of the music and everything else, right? A world where the new you can grow. And this is the WUCUSU way, family. Waking up, cleaning up, and standing up. It's all connected. This is how you build a life that you're proud of. This is how you stop surviving and stop living life vicariously through other people and what they're doing. And your conversation now is becoming more and more about what you're trying to do, the impact you want to make, your struggles, the things you're working on, how you can be of service to others. That's your conversations. Less about what so and so did, and now you're talking about what you're trying to do. And I don't mean this in a way where every waking moment you're talking about yourself, family. That's a, that's a problem too. The world is larger than just me and you. But it's to say that you're self-driven, not externally driven. And I want to say to you, as an exercise that we use is to do a self eulogy, and that is, eulogies are good words that you say. Sometimes the pastor says it usually a relative or a close friend. They come up and they talk about the good memories, and the key with a eulogy. They're good things. So they'll talk about your the good things, accomplishments, accolades you received, and we talk about how you positively impacted their lives. They'll give a testimonial about times when they were low and you came and helped them or whatever you did, right? Now, usually a eulogy, you're never going to hear it because you're dead. Your eulogy, right? But what if you wrote your own eulogy? What would you want to be said about you? What would you want your closest friend, your your children, your spouse, your mate? What would you want them to be able to say honestly about you? Have you ever been to funerals and the person that died was so nefarious that people were struggling to find something to say positive about them? You want to be a person when you go and you transition to that other dimension, you want people to be able to say stuff about you that's beautiful and true, and they don't have to struggle to try to come up with stuff that you don't didn't really represent. So how do you do that? Write your eulogy. What are the things you want people to say? What are the accomplishments you want them to list? What are the traits in your character you want them to talk about? What are the ways you help them and other people in society you want them to mention? What is your legacy? Right? Write that all down. And then reverse engineer it, which means now go back and say, okay, if in 20 years I want this to be said of me, I got to get on it. What do I do? It may involve going to school, learning a trade. It may involve starting a business, right? It may involve going into a whole new venture, whatever, getting certified and so whatever it is. But that's a very practical way to see where you want to be and then create a plan for where you want to be eventually. right? So anyway, family, if tonight's message hit you, and if you're like me, I don't want to be stuck. I'm tired of being stuck. I want to be unstuck. If you're ready for structure and clarity and transformation in your life, then this is an opportune moment, right? So if you are one of those people in the chat or in the comments, if you watch this in a recorded version, write, I'm ready. If this is something you're ready for. And if you want more tools and worksheets or coaching, reach out to your brother IJ Tayamba. Everything I do, the books, um, these uh, these live broadcasts, the uploads, to the actual coaching, is really designed to help you build the next and the best and the fullest version of yourself, right? So, family, stop waiting for motivation, stop waiting for permission, stop waiting for the perfect condition that never comes. The perfect time to do something is the time you think about doing it. And you're going to find another thing about people get things done. Well, how do they get all this done? That's because they think of the idea, they get this system together, and they get started. They're not waiting, they get started. And as they get started, all the other things they need come right into play, almost like magic. That's another story for another time. So build your blueprint, walk your path, and become the person and the future person you want to be, right? Your future self will thank you. Your family will thank you. The people in your different relations will thank you because as you become a better person, some people think this is selfish and self-centered, but as you become a fuller, more dynamic, more empathetic uh, person, more informed, huh? More skilled, what happens is everybody and everything connected to you benefits because now you're modeling behavior and other people are looking at you when you don't think they are. And they're going, wow, they used to be upset all the time. Now they're kind of cool, right? Or they used to be complaining about everything all the time. And now they're giving thanks and they seem to be cool, right? Or they kept saying, I wish I could. And now they're doing it. And so you're gonna start impacting the people around you. And the things that they wasn't doing before, they're gonna start doing because they see you doing it. Now you've become a leader, not necessarily in a Malcolm X type of way, Nelson Mandela way of a whole nation, but right in the spaces you occupy, you're showing people a different and many times a better way of living in a process and of responding. And that's a beautiful thing. So everyone benefits with this, right? With that said, family, thank you. I hope you got something out of it. Thank you for joining us. Please remember to say some prayers and affirmations for our sister, Yumeki Harmon, who was supposed to be our guest tonight, but had family tragedy and bad news that she has to handle. Please remember her in your prayers. It's not just about the things we go through. Other people on this planet go through things too, and we need to be there for them, even if we don't know them, and even if we don't ever see them. Thank you, family. I want to say peace and power.